The Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan has tonight confirmed his department will appeal Friday's ruling by the North Gauteng High Court, ordering that public facilities such as hospitals and schools be exempted from rolling power cuts.
The court found that the state has breached its constitutional duties, which thus infringed on citizens' rights to healthcare, security and education. Because of this, Gordhan's been ordered to take all reasonable steps to ensure that this is corrected within 2 months.
But in a statement, the department this afternoon has said that Minister Gordhan is seriously concerned about the implications of that judgment as far as efforts to stabilise the national electricity grid. Let's get you the reaction now from Outa's advocate Stefanie Fick, in fact, director of the organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. Good to see you as always, advocate. So over the weekend, we began to hear that government was likely going to put this appeal forward, so I'm sure you're not surprised.
Well, you know what, I'm going to say I am surprised, because I think when is this government going to realize that, it doesn't help wasting time with appeals. In fact, this litigation is done with taxpayers' money. Take the money you spend on legal cases and rather do what the court order told you to do. This is not about the grid. This is about giving public schools, hospitals and police stations power. In other words, give them solar or give them a generator so that they can function while there is load shedding. Why not?
I spoke yesterday to an expert who was saying it's all good and well, but it's going to be slightly more complicated than that, because firstly, how do you procure, let's say, if it's solar, how do you procure enough generators, and how do you get them to the thousands of locations in as short a possible time? Do you think government would be able to do that? In your estimation, how long would it take if indeed they were to go that route, if they lose this appeal, for instance?
If they lose the appeal, you see, again, now we're wasting time. While we wait for this appeal and arguments and all of that, we are wasting time. Where there's a will, there's a way. I am not for 1 minute saying that it's going to be easy, but we are fighting for people's rights. In other words, our government telling us that, the rights of a hospital to be able to have power while there's load shedding in order to function, in order to keep people alive, that is not a priority. We have seen how much money was wasted during COVID with PPE corruption. I sometimes wish that we put the same energy into the way we can concoct schemes in order to, steal money from the fiscus, put that into creating good for other people. I again say, where there's a will, there's a way. There's a difference between saying, I'm throwing up my hands, this is impossible, versus starting to do this. Start the procurement process and see how much you can get done in the 2 months that is given to you. I am sure that if there is a good reason why 60 days is not long enough, that the court will take that into account. But don't start by saying, I can't. You can. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I think if there's a political will, we will get this done.
But not overnight, right? Because while it was a welcome judgment by many when the news came on Friday, to be clear, this is not something that would be fixed or fix load shedding for people who are affected at hospital, school level, etc., next month, for instance.
No, load shedding will take a while. We've heard the grid, that we do not have enough electricity on the grid in order to give electricity to everybody. In fact, we all know, with winter looming, that the load shedding schedule will probably go up. What this order is about, the court took into consideration that, to exempt, for example, all hospitals, all schools, etc., from load shedding is nearly impossible, because sometimes, a school is on a grid, and they can't separate the grid. So if they want to stop load shedding, they can't load shed a very big area, and then load shedding becomes a farce. Then we will really go on to levels. The order is about government making sure that there is other means of electricity available. So we are talking about buying generators, Buying, solar is maybe will take a bit longer, but if we start now, we will be, further down the line instead of complaining and appealing everything. So it is not about fixing the grid. It's about providing alternatives. And there's so many out there.
And let's talk about the now. We're going into winter. I mean, in areas such as Gauteng, where you and I are tonight, it's been raining all day, in fact, today. It is getting colder. In other parts of the country as well, we're expecting more reliance on Eskom's side on diesel. Billions. I think the forecast for this year is around 30 to 40 billion rand that's likely going to be spent on diesel. How is Eskom dealing with that? Eskom and government, are they going about that in the right way? For example, finding the best deal for diesel?
Well, I think, there was this discussion before that, Eskom asked whether they can't buy directly and that will save their money. This again is just, if you have the will to fix this, you will find a way. And one wonders why it's so difficult, for example, for Eskom to buy petrol or diesel at the best price possible. And then, immediately once one goes to, but, somewhere someone signed a deal and is probably getting money on the side. And unfortunately, that's where we go, whether that's true or not. Again, we are limited in what we can do with the current grid. I mean, a government knew that there was going to be an electricity shortage since 1998. And it is not South Africa's, it's not South Africa's fault that government has wasted time. And here we are. They started with Kusile and Madupi. What happened? Corruption. And we still don't have the full benefit of those big power stations. So yet again, I think the question should be, how are you going to solve the problem? Because as South Africans, we are suffering. Am I just at this? I always at this. Me and you may complain about load shedding. We also need to talk about electrification for people that still do not have electricity at all. So I really think that's why this judgment is so important, because I think the court finally held government accountable for the fact that there's not electricity for all. And we are not talking about, I need electricity because I need to, watch TV.
Right.
This is about hospitals.
Stefanie Fick, good to speak to you from Outa tonight.